Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show, powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com and at @U_Capper on Twitter. You can see my guys right next to me, Moneyline Matt and Jeff Michaels in the building. We're going to be breaking down 3 of the top games from tonight's 9-game slate. But before we get into those games, I do want to talk about some promos really quick. We have the $2.99 remainder of the college basketball, NBA, and NHL season, $299 each. That includes the tournament, that includes the finals, the championships, everything for the remainder of the season. No promo code necessary there. It's all available through Sunday at midnight. You can catch that over at sportsmemo.com. Again, that's the remainder of college basketball, NBA, or the NHL season. Just $299 each. And one more promo to talk about here, promo code 7. You can get a 7-day all-access pass for just $49 from either myself or Matt, or you can use it for both of us. Both of us handicap more than just NBA, so that's why we're adding the all-access pass here. And you can grab all of our plays for the next 7 days for just $7 a day. These are the amazing promos that we got going on over at sportsmemo.com. So right after the show, make sure to head over to the site, grab these amazing deals. Also, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button before you go. It only takes a couple clicks. It helps our show grow tremendously here. With that said, Matt and Jeff, man, we had a great show. It was just me and Matt on Wednesday. We did a great job on Wednesday. I hit the best bet. I had the Mavs team total over there. Hopefully, we just continue rolling in the NBA side here. On the premium side yesterday, not too good, but hopefully we bounce back today. How was your day yesterday, Matt?
I'll be honest, we had that 14-3 best bet run. Now it's 14-4 after SGA lost. The Thunder blew out the Indiana Pacers in that matchup. And I've been on a bit of a skid since then. It's probably my worst of the season. I'm looking to right the ship tonight. Some pretty good games on this NBA slate, some high totals on this NBA slate. So definitely some spots that I'm looking to target for some player props, maybe some assist props, things like that. So again, looking to right this ship today, this Friday. No better day to do it with Ron and Jeff. So let's get into it, guys.
Yeah, Jeff, I know you've been touching on some college basketball as well, not only the NBA. How's your week been doing?
I can't complain. Yeah, I switched it up a little bit this week. You guys had the two-man show on Wednesday instead of the two-man show on Friday this week. So excited to be closing out the week here with you guys. And we split on the college basketball card yesterday, but we did lose the best bet. So lost a little bit of profit there, slipped a little bit, but got one play over there today. So I'm looking forward to talking NBA with you guys and looking forward to some weekend action too.
Yeah, let's get straight into it then. We got the Knicks and the Hawks up first. Knicks on a 2-game losing streak, coming off a double-digit loss to the Wizards as 5-point favorites at home. This is the first of a 2-game road trip for them. Hawks on the other side, they've won 4 straight games, coming off an outright win over the Mavs in Dallas. They are back home for a 2-game homestand. They're also on the first leg of back-to-back games. They have the Hornets on deck tomorrow. From an injury perspective, Mitchell Robinson out, Bogdanovic and Trey are both questionable for this game, so it'll be interesting to see if they play. Matchup-wise, 2 matchups so far this season, both in New York. They split the matches, the Knicks winning the most recent one by 24 points here. Both games went under the closing total. Matt, where are you going with this game here?
Yeah, so in this spot, I got the 25-21 New York Knicks traveling on the road to face off against the 23-22 Atlanta Hawks. And to your point, this Atlanta Hawks team who has won 4 games in a row and a Knicks team who has lost 2 games in a row. In this spot, the Knicks are going to be without Mitchell Robinson. And for me, that's actually a very key miss for this New York Knicks team when facing a team like the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks are just getting back Clint Capella, who generally dominates that paint. He's actually coming off the bench right now. We'll see what happens in this matchup. But without Mitchell Robinson locking down that middle, you have Clint Capella and you have John Collins running that pick and roll, getting to the basket. And I think that's a huge thing in this matchup because they're going to be plugging in Isaiah Hartenstein, who is a big body. He's an okay defender, things like that. but I think it's especially key for Julius Randle. You know, again, I expect a big game out of Julius Randle here. He's been playing unbelievable basketball, but from the defensive side of things, he has to be very, very careful because he's so important to this New York Knicks team. He can't get in foul trouble on someone like John Collins, or, you know, if Clint Capella goes up for a dunk or anything along those lines. And right now, if in fact Julius Randle were to get in foul trouble or anything like that, this Knicks team can very well lose this game because of it. So for me, I'm actually backing the Atlanta Hawks here. You know, the Knicks have been one of the hotter teams against the spread on the road this season, going 16-6. But for me, Mitchell Robinson is such a key defender, locking down that middle in terms of, you know, getting his hands up, contesting shots, blocking shots, getting key rebounds. He's such a lengthy defender that, again, going against guys like Clint Capella, John Collins, Trae Young with that floater in the middle, you know, that opens up that much more on top of that with Isaiah Hartenstein in the middle instead of Mitchell Robinson. So for me, a lot of this does come down to Mitchell Robinson. I think this Knicks defense is very much built around him. So because of that, I'm actually going with the Atlanta Hawks here. I think they're playing better basketball right now at this point in time. They're playing at home. And again, I don't think Trae Young misses. I don't think Bogdanović misses. But even if they do, I think the injury replacement theory holds true here. And I would still continue to back the Hawks. So I'd be with the Hawks -2.5 here. You.
My bad. Sorry, guys. I was saying it was a good point that you brought up for Mitchell, right? Because he's that main paint protector, and you were saying like the pick and roll there with John Collins or even Capella, even the opportunity for just second chance points, right? He's one of their best rebounders on that side of the ball. So yeah, that's an interesting look there. Jeff, do you agree with Matt here? Do you think it's a Hawks play or nothing?
You know, I think that this is definitely an interesting matchup. I mean, you look at a Hawks team that at the beginning of the year, you know, prior to the season, we were looking at a backcourt with DeJounte and Trae, and we were talking about the backcourt so much. And now, you know, if Trae and Bogdanović do end up missing this game, you know, like Matt kind of alluded to, it really comes down to the paint presence of this Hawks team. But, you know, the two games that the Knicks lost, a little concerning that they shot under 42.5% in both of those games. And they lost to Toronto by just 2 points as a 1.5 point favorite. So failed to cover the spread in that one by just a hair. But, you know, the most recent one was an 11-point loss at home against Washington as a 5-point favorite. So, you know, that one does seem a little more concerning to me. But the Knicks, you know, do have the recent edge in the series. They're 9-5 against the spread over the last 3 years. And like you mentioned, they did have a big win in the most recent meeting. And I like this Knicks team on the road. And Atlanta, you know, they're 12-9 straight up at home, but they have a losing record against the spread on their own court too. But I think the biggest thing that stood out to me is on a season level, Atlanta's one spot behind the Knicks right now in the East, but if you look at their offensive and their defensive ratings, Atlanta ranks 21st offensively, while the Knicks are 9th, and Atlanta's 16th defensively, while the Knicks are 11th. So they do almost have the edge on both sides of the court here. You know, I do think that if Trae Young and Bogdanović are in this game and you have Mitchell Robinson out, probably a game I may put Knicks or nothing, but I may be leaning away from. If you do have those two guys, you know, off the court, but this Knicks team, you know, those numbers are on the entirety of the season. I do think that this is kind of something that they go back to the run that they were on, because they had been so dominant. You got them in the road in a comfortable situation against a Hawks team that struggles at home. So I think this is a situation that the Knicks could potentially get back into the swing of things. And pending the full injury report, I'd probably be leaning Knicks at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, I think I'm gonna be with Jeff on this one. A couple of things here. I feel like Mitchell Robinson moves the needle on the total more than he does on the line here. For that matter, I think just defensively, he's such a big impact. But I think the players that they have on the roster, I feel like they should be able to cover what he does on the court as far as on the offensive side of the ball. So for the most part, like I said, I think he moves the needle on the total, but not on the spread here. If I look at the Knicks as road dogs, they're only 10-5 against the spread, covering the last 5 games. Mainly due to their offense, not their defense. So even if Mitchell Robinson is out, I don't know how much that is going to affect their play as road dogs here. Knicks have covered 9 straight games and road games following a home game. So in that travel spot, winning 8 of them outright too, averaging 119.8 while allowing 110.7. Hawks at home this season, 10-6 straight up, but just 6-9-1 against the spread. The thing that where they struggle is on the first leg of back-to-back games, only 1-5 against the spread in that spot. I think it's going to be pretty tight, but I think the Knicks get it done here tonight. I would take the Knicks plus the points. I would actually look towards the under as well. One thing that I was looking at right while you guys were doing your breakdown, I was looking at Mitchell Robinson when he's out and the Knicks are on the road. Somehow they're 5-0 to the under, and so it's something where maybe it's an impact where the team knows that their best defender is off the court and they all have to step it up defensively on their side. So maybe that's the way that they end up thinking from a game plan But I would only look towards the Knicks here or to the under. I think the way that the number is right now, the total is right now, it might be just a little bit too high. So that's the way that I would go. Let's move on to the Heat Mavs here. The Heat coming off a 26-point win over the Pelicans in New Orleans. This is the last of a 3-game road trip. The Mavs lost and failed to cover in 5 of their last 6 games, so they're not in good form right now. Coming off an outright loss to the Hawks at home, second of a 4-game homestand for them, so they're finally kind of in home for a couple of games now. They should be able to get used to their home court. Injuries: Duncan Robinson, Yurtseven are out. Haslam questionable. Wood and Kleber are out for the Mavs. Wood being out, I think that's huge. Hardaway is probable, so we should see him tonight. First matchup of the season here. Jeff, what do you think about this one? Mavs at home, finally, getting some rest too as well. What do you think about this one? Do you think the Mavs can take care of business here, or is it the Heat on the road?
Going even back a couple games farther than what you said, I believe you said Dallas lost 5 out of the last 6. They failed to cover 8 out of the last 10 as well. But, what I found, I think, most interesting about this matchup is how similar these teams are, yet exact opposites. I mean, Miami is 6th right now in the East, but they're 23rd in offensive rating in the league while being 4th defensively. Dallas right now holds the 5th spot in the West, but they've gotten it done the exact opposite way. I mean, they're 24th defensively, but they're a top 5 team in offensive rating. They've shot, despite that streak where they failed to cover the spread recently that Ron and I both alluded to, they've shot 50% or better in 3 out of the last 4 games. But Dallas's defense has also allowed teams to shoot 55.5% or better in 3 consecutive games. So, Dallas's struggles are really obviously coming on the defensive side of the ball, but they've been a noticeably better home team. This has been said multiple times this year, I'm sure on multiple different occasions, but they're a noticeably better home team than they are on the road, despite that loss to Atlanta on Wednesday. But Miami's coming off a pretty dominating win, too. They were on the road against New Orleans, and they won by 26 points in that one. But the one thing that really stood out to me, and I think the way I'd be looking on this game would actually be a player prop based on the fact that Miami, despite being one of the better defenses, as I mentioned, over 43% of the points that they've allowed from the field have come from beyond the arc. So they're one of the worst teams, at least in a distribution aspect, at allowing points from deep. And with Wood being out, I think I'm looking at Dinwiddie threes in this one. He's over 2.5 at -106. He's gone over in 3 out of the last 5 overall and 3 out of the last 5 at home. Wood's one of the other better 3-point shooters on this team, and that's where teams have been able to take advantage of this Miami defense, is that deep ball. And, it may take you a couple more shots than it does on some other teams, but those shots end up being worth it, and I think Dallas kind of takes advantage of that tonight too. So Definitely be looking at threes for Dallas, in a sense, but I believe, in my opinion, Dinwiddie would probably be your best way to look in that one, especially at over 2.5. So 3 threes at -106 seems the best way to go. I'm going to stay off the sides on this one.
Yeah, it's always tough when you have. I think Wood is maybe their second or third option or third best offensive player there. So that's a lot of points offensively where that you're missing. And you just got Dorian Finney-Smith back, who is one of their better defenders. So you have that thing where offensive players leaving, offensive players out, defensive player comes in, and he had a game under his belt now. So maybe he got his legs back. So the way that I was kind of looking was more towards the under and a little bit towards the Heat here. Heat 8-4 straight up, 9-3 against the spread to the under as road favorites. And if they're actually favored by less than 4 points, 7-1 straight up, 5-2-1 against the spread. So these smaller lines, they're able to take care of business on the road here. They're averaging 108 points per game and allowing 98.9 points per game in that spot. On the Mavs side, you mentioned, they're really in bad form on the defensive side of the ball, but I think Finney-Smith and Josh Green coming back is going to help them. They're more defensive-minded players. But at home versus non-conference opponents, 0-6-2 against the spread this season, losing 4 of the last 5 games outright. And the other thing, too, the Mavs, they're not dogs at home often, but they have been twice so far this season. They lost both of them straight up. They failed to cover in both of them as well. Both of them went under. They lost to the Bucks and the Celtics. I think the reason why the line is what it is right now is because of all the offense that's missing with Wood. And, having no paint presence at all. I think the only big guy would probably be Dwight Powell. They're gonna really have a tough time against Bam Adebayo. So the way that I could look would probably be just towards the Heat and the under. I think it's gonna be a very defensive minded game, a slow paced game. That's the only way I could think of. And maybe from a prop perspective, probably look at rebounds. I think we're gonna see a lot of missed shots tonight. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, Ron, me and you are pretty identical on this one, so I don't want to reiterate too much here. But yeah, I'm with the under 219 as well. I think it's a great spot for it. I think the Dallas Mavericks are missing some key guys. To your guys' point, in Christian Wood, he's either the second option or the third option for a Dallas Mavericks team that was already very thin on the offensive end as is. It's kind of Luka do or die. And when you're facing the Miami Heat, who are one of the more defensive sound teams throughout the NBA, and they also have Caleb Martin, who's a solid defender. No one can stop Luka. You can only hope to slow him down, but you want some solid guys in front of him, and Caleb Martin is one of those guys. Then, of course, you also have Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Butler is one of the better defenders. And, another thing, too, is these two teams are some of the slowest teams in terms of pace of play throughout the entire NBA. The Mavs are 29th throughout the NBA, and the Heat are 28th. Okay, so again, running a very slow pace. And, to Jeff's point, these teams are somewhat polar opposites. And that kind of makes me think that they're going to somewhat even each other out. And it's going to be a very slow game, a lot of rebounds, things of that nature. And again, to Ron's point, I love the look of Bam Adebayo tonight. Dwight Powell's a big body, but he really doesn't defend that well. He doesn't move his feet all that well. And again, a lot of missed shots. I think there's going to be a good amount of missed shots. And lastly, to kind of reiterate what Ron said again, Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith is a great defender. He's long. He gets in your body. He moves his feet very well. So, again, I think that's going to be a boost for this Mavs team on the defensive end. So, for me as well, I'm going to be with the under 219 here.
Yeah, I like it. I like that play a lot, actually. The one thing to note, too, as well, the Heat are finally getting healthy. I feel like, in my opinion, I think Butler, throughout the whole season, we've seen a lot of probables, doubtfuls, questionables on their injury report. Now we're seeing it a lot shorter than before. So they're finally getting healthy. They might be one of those teams that we start to bet on for the most part, especially when they get home. I think that might be the way that we go looking forward. But that's a good point for that you brought up, Matt, about the slow pace, the defense, and the rebounds. Bam Adebayo props might be the look tonight. Let's get into this last one here. The Thunder and the Kings. Thunder, both of these teams, man, they've been kind of hot. And I don't know how many people would have expected this, but the Thunder won 6 of the last 7 games outright, covering in all 7 of them. This is the first of 2-game road trip, though. They are coming off of a 1-game homestand, and prior to that, they were on the road for like 4 games straight. So they've been traveling for the last like week or two a lot. Kings on the other side, they're also on a great streak, 5-game win streak. They've covered all in 5 of those as well. First of a 4-game homestand following 2 games on the road. First leg of back-to-back home games. They have the Sixers on deck tomorrow. This is a tough travel spot for both teams, I feel like. Injury-wise, Poku and Robinson Earl out for the Thunder. Sabonis is the key questionable guy here for the Kings here. First matchup of the season so far. Matt, what do you think about this one? I know the Kings, usually you like looking at props and stuff, but what are your thoughts on this game here?
Yeah, every night or every morning when you pull up the NBA slate and you look at the games, you always circle a couple. And the Thunder and the Kings were definitely the game that I had circled because this is going to be a really exciting game, or one of those games that you just hope lives up to the hype. The OKC Thunder are 22-23 on the season, traveling on the road to face off against the 25-18 Sacramento Kings. And this is a spot where both teams are very similar stylistically, and I think it makes for a very good matchup, but I honestly side with OKC in this spot, especially if Sabonis misses. I think this line actually says that Sabonis will most likely miss this game. Either way, I believe I'll be with the Thunder here because, again, you're putting a player right back in the lineup. A player as key as Sabonis, too, I think they would want to proceed on the side of caution just because he's so crucial to this team, both on the offensive end and the defensive end. And, this is a Thunder team that is 8-14 on the road, but 14-8 against the spread on the road. As for the Kings, this is a team that's 12-11 against the spread at home, and I believe all of this was with Sabonis as well. So now that they're going to be without Sabonis, it's going to be a big difference. So we got to see what happens here because for me, when you take a look at the makeup of this Sacramento Kings team, you have outside shooters like Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, Harrison Barnes, Keegan Murray. And honestly, when you look at this Kings team and you look at this roster, you're like, damn, this is a pretty good team. But a lot of that does come from the inside-out game from Domantas Sabonis. Now a lot of that comes down to De'Aaron Fox. And with De'Aaron Fox, the Thunder have Luke Dort. And Dort is one of the better defending guards throughout the entire NBA. So I think he can help to slow down De'Aaron Fox just a little bit and maybe force the ball out of his hands a little more. So if I were to look anywhere with Fox, it would maybe be points and assists or just assists tonight. Because, again, Dort is a very solid defender, moves his feet very well. He's kind of a pest. He very much frustrates the offensive players. So I think that's a good matchup for tonight. And then as for the Oklahoma City Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, we did have him last time in the best bet. He failed for us, sadly. But the Thunder did end up blowing out the Indiana Pacers. Gilgeous-Alexander has not hit 30 points in 3 games in a row. And that's a tough spot for the Kings because at some point, this dude is going to go off. He was missing wide open jumpers in that Pacers game. Not going to continue to do that. And, with the Kings, they're one of the worst defending teams throughout the NBA. They just outscore everyone and run such a high pace of play that it's tough for teams to keep up. As for the Thunder, that's what they like to do. That plays right into their style of game. So for me, it's Thunder all day. I really like the Thunder in this spot. Thunder +3, maybe money line. We'll see how that goes.
I like it. Jeff, do you agree with this, with Matt here? Do you think it's a Thunder or nothing?
I think that's the way I got to be looking too. I mean, you guys kind of said it. So Sabonis is a big idea and a big presence on this team, and that inside-out dominance has kind of been what's kept Sacramento afloat. It was amazing. It actually stood out to me that I was thinking the way that I'm sure a lot of people are thinking. The names that Matt mentioned, Kevin Huerter, Malik Monk, you got guys that are shooting on the outside, at an impressive level and capable of doing that. Well, you look at the ratings of this Kings team, they're number 2 right now in offensive rating, but they're 3rd in effective field goal percentage, 4th from inside 5 feet, 5th inside mid-range, but they're 10th in shooting percentage from beyond the arc too, which, gets you thinking that even though Sabonis is a guy that can potentially put up points from the outside, they're a team that's actually shooting better from inside despite, the names that you got on the outside. And that does kind of take that out of play if Sabonis does miss this game. And you have an OKC team that's surprisingly, at least to me, top 10 in defensive rating. I mean, they're 7-0 against the spread this season, playing on the road against teams that shoot 48% or better, which I would consider, top tier. So the better offensive teams, OKC's defense is really shutting them down in those games, especially on the road. And touching back to what you said with that streak that OKC's on, they've covered 7 straight. They've won 6 of those games straight up. Well, 5 of those 7 games, they were an underdog, and they shot 50.5% or better in 3 out of the last 4, and they've held back-to-back opponents under 43% shooting from the field. So you got a Sacramento team that has covered 4 straight games on their court against OKC. So I think OKC's fishing for a win in that sense. And they got to be one of the best teams in the league playing as an underdog this year. Sure, they've had plenty of opportunities, obviously, for OKC, but 24-10 against the spread as a dog, 14-5 against the spread as a road dog, and they're 16-3 in the last 19 games as a dog of 3 points or more. So they're covering those bigger spreads while, the Kings are one of the few teams that we see produce a total like this consistently, but they've lost, 4 straight games with a total of 240 or higher against the spread. So these high scoring affairs that, the books think are coming, they've really failed to cover those games, but they have gone over in 4 out of 5 of the opportunities this year with a total of 240 or more. So I think I'm with Matt on this one and leaning with OKC here tonight.
I like it. I mean, you guys brought up a lot of good points. And for me, my best bet is actually on this game. So we could just get straight into that. I agree with you guys. I like the Thunder plus the points here. Thunder 14-5 against the spread as road dogs. You mentioned it, Jeff. I mean, they're one of the best teams as dogs so far this season in the NBA, especially when they're on the road. Like I mentioned, 14-5 ATS in that spot. On the other side, the Kings just 8-8 against the spread as home favorites this season. And you also mentioned the fact that they struggle to cover these games when they have a high total, 240 or greater, 2-4 against the spread in that spot. And the other thing about it too is when I was looking at this game, you mentioned that the Thunder defense, they're actually one of the top defenses in the league. If you look at the last 10 games, the problem for me, I think, is on the Kings side, the reason why they're going to struggle here, I think some of their numbers are inflated. If you look at some of the teams that they faced in their last 6 games in general, they faced the Lakers twice, the Rockets twice, Spurs, and the Magic. All of those teams, all 4 of those teams, all in the bottom 10 in defensive rating, and that's why their offensive numbers look so good. Last 10 games for the Thunder, they're actually top 3. They're 3rd in the league in defensive rating, only behind the Grizzlies and the Nets. So, to me, I think some of the numbers on the Kings side are inflated. I think the Thunder are the better team here. I think SGA does come up and play a little bit better than he has been. I think this is a spot here where he kind of gets right. I think maybe he does hit the 30-point mark tonight. But for the most part, I think it's going to be the Thunder's defense. That's going to be the main reason why they cover this game tonight. I do think they also win this game outright. That would be the way that I go. That is my best bet for today's show. Thunder plus 3.5. Let's go with Jeff here. Well, what's your best bet for the show, and what do you got going on the premium side as well?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this best bet tonight. It's still in contention that I may end up at this game tonight if that doesn't give away what game I'm looking at. But as far as the premium side goes, guys, I got one play up over there in college basketball. I'll have my NFL up shortly as well. So looking forward to that this weekend. But yeah, we've been in the top 5 all season in college basketball. So perfect opportunity to go jump on that $2.99 deal that Ron was talking about earlier. Took a little step backwards, but plenty of time to bounce that back. But as for my best bet, guys, like I said, if you didn't guess it, I'm rolling with this Cleveland Golden State game tonight. And it's even a bigger line than I may have anticipated, but I still like the Cavs in this one tonight. A big revenge factor in my mind here. This may be one of the rivalries, quote unquote rivalries, if you want to call it, that everybody's kind of kept an eye on when the matchup comes around since that 2016 final. But Cleveland's lost 5 straight games to Golden State against the spread. So I really think a revenge factor is in mind here. And injuries are really coming into play for me in this one because the two big names, not the two first names, obviously, you think about on the Golden State Warriors, but Kuminga and Wiseman still remain out. And those probably are the two names that you don't want out against this Cleveland team, who, especially if Donovan Mitchell remains out tonight, because he's questionable at this point. But that puts a big emphasis on Evan Mobley and Jared Allen down there, with what potentially your biggest body being Draymond Green down there. And Cleveland, has played really good ball defensively. And I was looking, I almost stopped here because their 3-point numbers haven't been the greatest. But I looked at it positionally. They're number 1 on average in 3-pointers made by the shooting guard position. And they're number 3 against the point guard position. So their issues against the 3-ball have come from the bigger slots, the 4, the 5, the big stretch men that can shoot, where Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are struggling a little bit more to get out there and play that defense, especially when they're missing one of them. So, but the guards and the 3 and the small forwards haven't had an issue defending that perimeter. So I really do think that kind of negates the 3-point aspect for Golden State tonight. Not to mention Golden State is just 1-11 straight up as an away dog this season. And they played a game last night where Boston got out to a big lead in that one. They ended up fighting back and losing in overtime. But that was, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but Steph Curry's second, third game back, playing back-to-back nights after going overtime against Boston. I don't like Golden State in this spot, and I do like the Cavs in an opportunity with some injuries here on their home court. One of the best home teams to cover this bigger spread tonight. So I'm rolling with the Cavs minus all 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way that you would look at. One thing to mention, I mean, I guess I want to ask you this, Matt, Jeff. Do you think they should, if you like the Cavs, you should take it now, right? Because there's still some players on the Warriors side who are questionable, not officially out. So if Clay doesn't play, you would think the line moves more, or do you think that's kind of baked in at this point? Like, people know who's going to be out on the second of back-to-back for the Warriors now.
I do think it's a little bit cooked in there, but I do think that it is also a double-edged sword in this situation. I think 90% of the time you are correct. But if you look on the other side of the injury report, you do have Donovan Mitchell on there as questionable too.
Gotcha.
While I don't think that totally changes my opinion on it. I do think that obviously could have a little sway in potentially your benefit, if he does get ruled out as well. So most of the time, if there wasn't a question with Donovan Mitchell in this one, 100% I would be backing you, but it could potentially work in your favor even with a Mitchell injury.
Good point. Yeah, I like that look. Matt, let's go with you. What's your best bet for today, and what do you got going on the premium side?
Yeah, guys. So right now on the premium side, I have 2 NBA plays loaded. I'm going to get my NFL plays up tonight, and I have some UFC 283 plays loaded as well. So if you're a UFC fan, big fight card this Saturday, a lot of big names as well. So kind of the average fan, something you can pay attention to, get some bets in as well. So if you're looking for some plays, have some of those. And not going to lie, since I joined the company, this has probably been my roughest week in terms of the NBA. And I am very ready to turn it around tonight. And like I said, when you look at an NBA slate, you usually circle a couple games. I had that OKC Kings game circled, had this Grizzlies Lakers game circled big time as well. And we're going to be targeting Jaren Jackson Jr. over 16.5 points. And Jaren Jackson Jr. and the Memphis Grizzlies travel on the road to face off against the LA Lakers. And this is a matchup where 2 of these teams are very high up in pace. The Lakers are 3rd in pace throughout the NBA, and the Grizzlies are 6th in pace throughout the NBA. But for the Lakers, obviously now without Anthony Davis, that defensive ranking keeps going down. They're now 22nd throughout the NBA in overall defensive adjusted rating. And one reason that I really, really like this matchup, and I'm sorry for the LeBron slappies out there, it's because Jackson Jr. is matched up with LeBron James. LeBron James is actually one of the softer defenders throughout the NBA and someone that Jackson Jr. can very much take advantage of. And it's not just because LeBron plays bad defense, it's more so because he's focusing on the offensive end. If LeBron doesn't focus on the offensive end, this Lakers team is going to lose every single game. So he goes a little softer on defense so he can save his energy, so he can go and score points, facilitate, things like that. So again, I think it's a great matchup for Jaren Jackson Jr. against LeBron. And he's much bigger. He has the post-up moves on top of that to get to the rim. And on the season, Jackson Jr. is averaging 16.5 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 1 assist, while also hitting the 16.5 point line in his last 6 of 10 games. Another thing that I wanted to point out is with Steven Adams. When Steven Adams is in pace-up style matchups, his minutes go down. Okay, so again, his last game against the Pacers, he only had 22 minutes. His last game against Charlotte, 25. Golden State, 21 minutes. Milwaukee Bucks, 21 minutes. OKC Thunder, 21 minutes. So again, you're picking up a trend because Steven Adams is one of those guys who, he can move up and down the court, but if it's a scorching fast pace-up matchup, Adams doesn't get up and down like someone like Jaren Jackson Jr. So then they slide Jaren Jackson Jr. into that 5 position, and he runs that 5 so they can run a faster style lineup. The Lakers are also very bad against guards. And obviously the Grizzlies have John Morant, who can slash to the basket. And I can just see a lot of cuts with Jaren Jackson Jr., maybe some alley-oops, the back doors. Again, I think it's a very good spot for Jaren Jackson Jr. tonight. I would also put his 20 points in play on top of that. I think that would be even worth a sprinkle. That's around plus 200, plus 250. So again, of the last 21 centers that the Los Angeles Lakers have faced on top of that, every single one that has had at least 10 shots, 18 of 21 of those centers have had 16 plus points. So again, great spot for Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he has over 10 shots tonight. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. over 16.5 points.
I like that look a lot, Matt. The one thing that I want to add on to that is Jaren Jackson can spread the floor too. He can shoot from 3. So if he moves to the center position, right? You say Steven Adams doesn't get that many minutes. He moves to that center position. He's gonna pull Thomas Bryant out. He's gonna pull I forgot who the backup the other center is. But he's gonna pull them out. He doesn't, because both of those guys are more paint protectors. They're not perimeter defenders, right? So he plays from the center position. He could just sit outside, hit the 3 ball with John Morant facilitating. So that's definitely a good look. He can score from pretty much anywhere on the court there. Well, that's 3 best bets. I do want to make sure you guys head over to sportsmemo.com. You can find myself, Moneyline Matt, Jeff Michaels, all on the site there. All of our other amazing cappers on the site as well. We do have the amazing deals and promos we got going on that I talked about earlier on the show. Utilize the amazing live odds page right there. You can see it on the screen. We have an odds page there from all the casino, all the books, one of the top books available to you guys. Also, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button before you go. With that said, we've done a good job, I think, breaking down these 3 games. We gave out the 3 best bets. Our next show, Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Till then, good luck with all your action. Peace.
Peace.